Beyond our own experts, I've noted a dramatic resurgence of public and press interest in the remarkable alternatives available in the credit union sector. It's been a long time since we've seen articles in the Wall Street Journal, USA Today, the New York Times, and numerous populist publications which promote the benefits of our business model. What has happened may be described as the perfect storm in the credit union movement. First, we are all aware of the meltdown of our nation's financial institutions. Many have failed, and more are teetering on the edge. Since starting to pen this speech a few weeks ago, another 46 banks across this nation have failed, and the total number could actually exceed 1,500, according to some regulators. A recent survey by Forrester Research reports demonstrated total disgust with the banking sectors among the public. Of the 50 banks surveyed, America's banking giants all scored horrible in customer confidence. Perhaps expected, 33% of B of A customers interviewed rejected the idea that the bank was doing what was in the best interest of the customer. But other organizations like Chase, Fifth Third, Citibank are all even in worse conditions, according to this particular study. It's no wonder that the federal government has become a major player in the operation of banks and in the midst of a significantly expanding control of the banking industry. The government intervention comes at a time when the American public has become very weary of the political process and is troubled by the ineffective decision-making of our congressional and bureaucratic leadership. From our vantage point, government regulation is not all bad. Our member CEO, Jim Blaine, State Employees Credit Union in North Carolina, in a recent interview made a formidable point that government regulation is generally intended to end abusive practices, and the more the bad guys are off the street, the more our business will grow for those of us who play fairly. That's what we're always all about. While the financial industry has been under siege, the credit union segments have had their own set of challenges. Not escaping the challenging economy, most of us have been forced to become more efficient in our operations. We've adjusted staff, we've increased our outsourcing to more cost-effective processes, and we thought how we will invest in the future. We've suffered through changes in how we work through corporates and have weathered the early storms along with our banking brothers in dealing with the Credit Card Act and the impending issues associated with interchange. Through consolidation and increasing our cooperative character as an industry, we've become more nimble and are now poised to take advantage of market change. Finally, the American public has become more respectful of the credit union promise. As referenced earlier, the press has put us in the spotlight, but even more impactful has been the simple fact that America's credit unions have stepped forward and have offered members loans when banks have said no, expanded credit and debit products in a time of contraction by many financial institutions, and more recently have stepped forward with relationship banking, helping citizens across the country who are finding their former banks closed or the banking giants no longer interested in serving their personal needs. Despite reductions in the number of credit unions from 7,900 in 2008 to 7,700 in 2009, share deposits have been swelling. In the fourth quarter of 2009, we actually saw growth, a turnaround in member growth in particular. And even more important, consumers across the land are turning to credit unions as safe havens for banking. According to Callahan and Associates, cash managed by credit unions was up by nearly 30% in 2009, reflecting the credit union commitment to help Americans' consumers. Credit union loan volume exceeded $271 billion in loan originations in 2009, a 7% increase over 2008 and a new record. This remarkable feat is even more encouraging when the fact emerges that commercial banks during the same period demonstrated a 7% loss in loan volume, the sharpest decline since 1942. It doesn't stop here. Credit card outstanding funds, inclusive of unused credit lines, grew to a new peak of $108 billion, while bank credit card lines fell by more than $1 trillion. Reflecting on this trend at PSCU, we achieved a first ever total transaction volume of almost 1.1 billion transactions, with prospects for growth looking very strong this year. Even indirect auto loans increased by 2% in credit unions amidst the worst auto sales of the year. These changes in the base business are not just about numbers. It's about real people for real solutions. American consumers are scrambling to preserve their financial stature after their trusted banks no longer seek to support their needs. As typical of this situation across the country, I can share an example of one of our members from the Pacific Northwest who achieved tremendous growth in the last year with new members as a result of one of the early banking failures in their market. On Point Community has embraced change and is making a difference to thousands of new members seeking refuge after the fall of Washington Mutual in their market. Credit unions across the country are recognizing these types of opportunities and are learning how to respond to members and new prospects by doing what's right. What are we to do? How do we turn obstacles into opportunities? What are the solutions that will make the credit unions of today more compelling solutions for the American public as they wrestle with the options for financial relationship? As I referenced earlier, I've spent the last few months deeply engrossed in studying business perspectives on change. I have focused energy on trying to translate best practices in the American business to the unique position we share as credit unions. It has led me to some powerful observations which I would like to share. Let me start by offering a perspective of a leader well outside the day-to-day world of credit union movement, but perhaps one of the greatest business leaders of our times. In a forum that I attended, sponsored by Ernst & Young, Jack Welch, the legendary leader of GE, offered, "This will be the greatest time in history to challenge the game." His reference was to the evolving political and economic landscape where virtually every norm is up for challenge. He went on to say that growth of this economy is sitting in this room. For us to be ready to meet this challenge, I believe we cannot sit back and wait for change. We must make change happen. In thinking about how I could sum up the challenge in front of us, I wrestled with the guidance that could make a difference in your business and perhaps in how credit unions change the financial landscape of America. I, like you, have tried to learn new ways of doing things. I've locked in on issues which were not apparent through my career. I've listened carefully to both our members and to leaders in our field for gems of knowledge that could impact our business. Today, I'm focusing on 4 fundamental areas which I believe can guide you in your efforts to transition your business for a progressive future. First, I have learned through experience that CEOs can't manage their way to prosperity by relying solely on cost reductions. And you know who I'm talking to. As an industry, we've been cutting dramatically to keep pace with revenues and to control cost. We're now faced with the realities that we can't go much further. We have cut so much that we are frequently enduring new risks to our mission and to the distinctive promise we have for service to our members. Second, we need to leave many of our old ways behind and embrace new technologies and changing needs of ever-demanding membership. Products like check-free banking were nearly foreign to us just 5 years ago, but today are mainstream tools for consumer banking. Mobile banking, e-banking solutions, and integrated banking services are becoming standards by which institutions are measured. Third, we must focus on what is most important to our members as it relates to the servicing of their needs. We have heard their cry for enhanced security, and our own research continues to share that confidence in this matter is paramount to a good relationship and top of mind to most of you in this room. But beyond the tactical support, our consumers want service on their terms and on their schedule. We can no longer run our centers for the convenience of staff. If we are unable to satisfy cost-effective operations internally, we've got to learn how to outsource those that are more efficient, whether it's to PSCU or to even another CUSO or service organization that can enhance services while managing costs. Finally, we need to band together as a cooperative to maximize the investment you have made in our organization to offer the most efficient products and services to our members. This is more than just consolidating existing efforts. It's an opportunity to learn from each other and to build new models of service-making products and services affordable through scale and efficiency. About 2 years ago, my good friend Chip Filson of Callahan's reported that the evolving model for future credit unions would be built around CUSO models of multi-owned networks as a fundamental dynamic in creating efficient credit unions for the future. The article went on to focus on the elements of a successful credit union, including differentiation, innovation, and collaboration. He was as right then and now more than ever before. His vision in the philosophy that we must all embrace to be successful. As a credit union industry, we must hold our differentiation. We're different by design, here to serve our members with services which they appreciate and desire. We must continue to innovate. This is more than simply rolling out next generation products. It's the decision to do what's right for our membership, to help them with their concerns, like card security and our answers with the unique card lock programs. And then we must collaborate. The efficiencies of scale will not be achieved by new buildings, expanding staff, and huge investments in computing power, but by serving the needs of each community through the combined resources of CUSO organizations offering cooperative, professional, and efficient services that few credit unions could possibly do on their own. The bottom line is a realization, as business returns to normal, we cannot go back to the old ways. They simply don't work. Earlier I referenced insight from Jack Welch. His words on the situation in America have been locked into my mind when he said, "Now is the time to be on the offense," and then added, "We don't need incremental improvements. What we need is aggressive action." If we resort to the old way, we simply will be lost in the shuffle as Americans dig out of one of the worst economic challenges of our times. A proactive credit union industry will be poised to achieve great success if we move to secure our assets and aggressively follow an optimistic course. Dr. Ishak, a business leader of Corning, offered solid guidance on coping with an uncertain future. He said that this is the time to set priorities. You weather it, you survive it, and you learn from it. These words are insightful and offer hope for a positive future. As the leader of this cooperative, however, I feel there is another canon which I should add, and I hope you share my philosophy. This is a time for fresh insights into our future, a time for listening to those with valuable knowledge, a time to sunset out-of-date business practices, and a time for action. By being here for this event, I believe you have committed to the cause of making a difference. And I hope that during the next 2 days, the interaction among the leadership and the insight from the extraordinary panel of speakers and guests, we give you the tools to make something happen and the desire to seize the moment. Carpe Diem.